Which do you think is more important in photography, generally speaking? Doesn't matter if it's product photography. Doesn't matter if it's street. A lot of times you don't have the opportunity unless you let Mother Nature dictate the golden hours of illumination. All the studio strobes and speedlights in the world ain't going to illuminate a 20 millimeter wide landscape shot. There's no way you could do it. You might be able to drop a lot of speed lights and do some selective time exposures, but you're a slave to Mother Nature. What do you think is more important in photography, the actual composition or the illumination that you give and understanding lighting ratios? Where the light falls. We talk about product photography, we talk about portrait photography. A lot of people are always concerned about the composition and they pay no attention to lighting, and it's just an epic, stupid mistake. Which do you think is more important? Now, I've said like 1,000 times that a professional photographer is an expert in composition and light manipulation. Light manipulation regarding what? Sitting out, waiting for Mother Nature to drop the right light, which in some cases you're certainly a slave to that obvious fact. Mother Nature is going to give you what she's going to give you, or you can screw around with it enough in Photoshop and make it look the way you want, which is, it's not cheating. Photography is writing with light. The true denotation of the term photography does not have any bearing on whether you manipulate and molest the hell out of the shot in Photoshop or Lightroom. Even in the days of film photography, we'd sit in there and dodge and burn, and we'd actually push and pull on the exposure of the film, and ultimately that's no different than Lightroom and Photoshop, just a little bit less radical. People always talk about composition, the rule of thirds, the rule of odds, the rule of space, simplification, geometry and symmetry. Then we go over other things like shape and proportion, positioning. Obviously how you pose a woman is very important, like a nice portrait shot. Generally speaking, portrait shots don't look that good if you take a shot of a beautiful woman with her thumb stuck up her nose. So that would be like a compositional no-no. These are things that are kind of obvious, and we think about these things. The area in which the field of view is used for the picture or the crop, the path or directed that's followed by the viewer's eyes that necessitate geometry and symmetry of the composition, negative space, the color, the contrast, the arrangement, the lines, the rhythm, the repetition, perspective. Oh great, there's basically about 20 fundamental rules of composition. Now, which do you think is more powerful? I could obey all these rules of composition, or I could do that instead of two options here. Instead of doing that, I could take a normal shot and I could make it look extremely exciting with the proper illumination and understanding where 3 zones lie. And this is not what you're taught, and you don't read about this stuff in photography magazines. Really, the only place you'll actually read about this are in the top most experts of photography. I don't see anybody on YouTube photography channels talking about this. They don't. I swear to God, none of them do. The only one that does is like an illegal upload of like Dean Collins's workshop on photography. Where does fall the borders and the diffuse border between the shadow, the midtones or the diffuse, and the speculars, i.e. the highlights? Where does it fall, and what is the gradation? What percentages each is given to give definition and character? Which is more important? I can change the composition of a portraiture more radically by changing the lighting than you can between changing how a person puts their hand on their face, or it's like, hey, don't cross your eyes, don't have your thumb. Okay. Simple compositional rules. What could change the shot more radically to make it more beautiful and lovely than the simple posing? There's a million things. Well, this is how you pose a person. Do this. I'm looking over the... Okay, you want to learn that? That's fine. What will change it faster, more radically than doing that? Not that that's not important. It's your lighting. The lighting ratios and where you choose the 3 sectors of illumination to fall on your subject. More important. More important. You could take some of the most compositionally perfect shots, and there it is, the boring snooze maker. If you are able to apply the correct illumination, now sometimes you have no control over that. It's the same thing with nature photographers and landscape photographers. You know, they'll use gradated ND filters, and they'll molest the hell out of the shot in Photoshop. You know, or they can wait for the magic 2 minutes before the sun rises or before it sunsets, or, you know, the magic time where the clouds are right, and that's all wonderful. Okay? There's a difference between someone that goes out hunting a deer or a smart person that actually, like, you know, deer's like this, so I'm going to leave some bait right here, and I'm going to build a tree stand, and the deers love the hell out of this. There's actually one product I remember in an outdoor store. It's called deer cocaine. And I forget what's in it, but it's called deer cocaine, and like deer can't resist it. And that's why they call the product deer cocaine. So all you have to do if you're a smart person and you're like, I don't want to go traipsing through the woods hunting the deer, I'm going to lay out some deer cocaine, put a tree stand up here, and then the deer are going to come along and I'm going to go, I'm going to bust a cap in their butt, right? That's an analogy. It's the same way with lighting. It's the same way. You talk about lenses all day long and camera gear. Lighting, you know, some lighting is really expensive. Most of it is not. And what will change your photography quicker, faster, better than anything else is some frickin' lighting. Why the hell do you think I've got like 20 times? I've got way more than that. If you took all the light mods on YouTube, like this is a little freaky thing to mod your light. I've got more light mods than everybody else combined on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I do. And at least 50 times more light mods than any other single person. You know, why are those things so important? Like this unique thing, you know? Call it the beauty box. There's absolutely nothing else out there like it. It makes specific, very unique lighting. You can't buy this. Okay, it's half beauty dish, it's half light box. Okay, I don't have the cover over it right now. Lighting. Where those diffuse values, where the light falls. I can change the nature of the reality of the shot quicker with lighting than you can with composition. I mean, I can make it more intriguing. Negative space, the amount of shadows, the amount of negative space, where the light falls. You have to understand how important it is, the diffuse value between your specular and your highlight, or your diffuse and your shadow, or between your diffuse and your specular, or your diffuse and your shadow. Where that gradation is, whether it's hard gradation, hard lighting, soft lighting, the amount of diffusion between the specular and the diffuse, the amount of diffusion between the diffuse and the shadow, that is most important. That will change your shot more radically, more quicker, and if you learn those techniques, and you could sit there, you know, in your house and like light a teddy bear, or like buy a $20 model's head off of eBay. They sell these stupid things for hairdressers, or like to, you know, do hairdos on these doll heads. You know, stick a head on a steak. Doesn't that sound weird? Stick a head on a steak. Yeah, stick a head on a steak, stick it in your living room or wherever it is, and start messing with diffusion values between shadow, diffuse, and specular, where they fall, their intensities, their nature of diffusion, their interlacing, and then you'll start to see what I'm talking about. And if you start looking at photographs too, you'll see that. It's like, what strikes you first? Not the composition, it's the damn lighting. People are always like, oh, composition, rah, rah. Well, you know, while composition is certainly incredibly important, like I said, you don't want to take a picture of a model with her finger shoved up her nose. You know, that's kind of compositionally bad. The stuff that people take for granted is the stuff that people are not focusing on that gives you the most dramatic effect to your photography. Lighting is it, okay? It's called photographia, writing with light. It's not called writing with composition. You are ultimately writing with composition. You're trying to tell a story. I can tell more of a story with lighting. So I took the exact same. If I took like a dead mummy, okay, and you know, the light, you know, the person is unmoved. Let's say I just froze a person. All right, I could change the total mood of that shot simply through lighting. The camera remains fixed. The model remains fixed. I can demonstrate 20, 30 different, radical different impressions and moods simply by changing the lighting. Doesn't that tell you something? It's like, wow, the person is completely the same in every shot. The camera is completely same. The depth of field is completely the same. The f-stop Nothing has changed but the lighting and where the diffuse and specular and the shadows fall, and each shot is radically different. That should tell you something. Why don't people learn that fact? Anyway, practice with it. Go buy a doll's head. It's not a doll's head. It's called like a hairdresser's model. If you got someone in the house, that's fine. Usually they don't want to sit that long while you screw around, unless you pay them. Go buy one of those hairdressing heads off of eBay for $20 or $14. I've seen them. They're pretty cheap, and practice with that. Start practicing not with the composition, which I'm pretty sure you already have a lot of good ideas about. Practicing with the damn lighting. Okay, thanks, bye.